If you could create wealth faster by making one change, would you want to know what that is? Of course you would. But here's the interesting part. If you were to go ask 100 millionaires if this thing made a difference or not, most of them would tell you it did make a difference, and many of them would tell you it was the single most important thing that made a difference in their wealth creation. However, if you were to go ask 100 people that are in the lower to middle income if this thing would make a difference, almost all of them would say, no, that really doesn't make any difference at all. Think about that. And what I'm talking about is your mindset and how your mind works. You see, here's the harsh part. No matter what your financial situation is, you got here because of decisions you made, and you made those decisions because of your mindset. So even if you say, well, gosh, that's not true, Steve, I'm a victim of this, and my situation is not the result of my decisions, then maybe you have a more of a victim mentality. And I can say that because I've been there. Almost 20 years ago, I had a business partner that took off with almost $200,000. And my first thought was that I'm the victim, which I technically was. But after thinking about it, I said, you know what? I chose to partner with him. There was something in my mind that said, yeah, this would be a good opportunity. Why? I don't know. But the point is, I made that decision based on my mindset and how my mind works. And so I chose not to be a victim, to figure out why I made that decision and to figure out how to avoid that in the future. So instead of playing a victim mindset, control what your mind is thinking, and you'd be amazed at the results. Again, the point is that your mindset and what you think determines your success. There was even a movie about it back in 2006 called The Secret. It's pretty interesting. You may want to check it out. But with that said, let's get to 5 phrases that I've heard used many times that have prevented people from becoming successful. Again, these are things that are very common that could be preventing you from achieving financial success. So the first of them that I've heard is when people say, as a child, they'd heard, we don't have any money. Honestly, I heard that a lot. That was something that was common in our household. Hey, we don't have the money for this. We don't have the money for that. And that's okay. We didn't. But what happens is your mind is constantly hearing, we don't have money, we don't have money, we don't have money. And that gets ingrained in your mind. And so even when you get to the opportunity where maybe you could have money, what is your mind thinking? Oh, no, we don't have any money. And even if you could, your mind could be making decisions that are keeping you from achieving success. Another common phrase that people hear growing up is rich people are jerks. So what happens with the mind? Well, when the mind hears that time and time again, it's ingrained, and your mind wants to protect you. It wants to make sure that you're not a jerk. Therefore, if the opportunity comes about that could make you rich, your mind is going to say, no, we don't want that. We don't want to be jerks. And your mind could be helping you make decisions that are preventing you from becoming successful. So another thing that's interesting is I found that to be entirely untrue. I've, in my career, met hundreds of people who are very successful, many, many millionaires. And honestly, only one of them was a jerk, but most of them were not. And so, the statement isn't true, but even worse is that statement could be preventing you from achieving financial success. I think the single phrase that I hear the most often is, that sounds too good to be true. Well, it's a very common phrase, but think about this. How many times do you think Bill Gates or Elon Musk or somebody super wealthy looked at an opportunity and said, oh man, I might make too much money on that? Never happened. They're going to look into it and they're going to figure out, is it legitimate or not? Do not dismiss an opportunity just because it may look too good. You may make a lot of money. Too many people walk away from incredible opportunities because, that just looks too good. Well, that's how wealthy people create wealth, by really good opportunities. So it doesn't mean you should jump on every get-rich-quick scheme. It means that you should at least take a look at it, perform due diligence, and only rule it out when you've got enough facts to determine that, okay, yes, that is not legitimate. Because what's going to happen is sooner or later, you're going to find something that looked too good to be true, and then you're going to find out it is true. And I can tell you that because in the last year, I've got 2 or 3 investments that have tripled in value. And I've shown investors these opportunities many times. And I have at least 20 people who've said, well, that looks too good to be true, so I'm going to pass up. I could name 20 people that missed out on tripling their money because it looked too good to be true. It didn't even perform the due diligence. They didn't even give it a shot. Don't be one of those people. Another phrase that I hear a lot is, I don't want to fail. And I get that. There's a couple things here. Nobody wants to fail. Okay? Technically, I don't want to fail either. However, that does not prevent me from taking action. I would love for you to introduce me to one multimillionaire who has never failed at anything. Probably not going to happen. They have achieved what they've achieved because they tried, and maybe they failed and they learned something, and then they tried again, and they probably failed 2 or 3 times before they figured out enough to be able to make that successful. And I can tell you that's almost exactly what happened with me. I did not succeed at the very first thing that I did, but I learned from it, tried again, learned a little bit more, and then things really began to take off. So, that phrase, I don't want to fail, I get that, but don't let that prevent you from trying things, okay? Another thing to think about is, what is your definition of failure? Is it just an investment that loses money? Or is failure for you starting a business that doesn't succeed? Again, there's just a lot of different ways of looking at that. And I'll tell you, one of my favorite song lyrics says, there is no failure in trying, coasting to the bottom is the only disgrace. Again, give it a shot and at least give it a try instead of just being afraid to fail. And lastly, what are the consequences if you did fail? So let's say you started a business, you ran it for a while, and maybe it didn't take off. Okay, yeah, you've wasted some time, maybe you've lost a little bit of money, but there's a good chance you might have succeeded and made money. And there's a really good chance that even if you did fail, you probably learned a lot and could probably do it better the second time. The last item is really more of a mindset than a phrase. And it's the mindset of, I want both. That's the way wealthy people think, whereas most people who are not wealthy think either or. Let me give you an example. A client of mine got a tax refund earlier this year, and it was about $15,000. And coincidentally, that was about the same amount of his credit card debt and about the same amount as an investment that he and I were looking at together. And so he was trying to decide, should I put that $15,000 into this investment, or should I put that $15,000 over here to pay off that credit card, and then I'm at zero, and then I can start saving again thereafter. What I showed him how to do is, why not both? What I showed him how to do is to take that $15,000, invest it, and use the gains from that investment to then pay off the credit card. And so he's on track. It'll take about 12 to 14 months for that $15,000 of the investment to pay off that credit card. And then what is he left with? In 12 to 14 months, the credit card is gone, and he still has that investment generating passive cash flow every month. And so again, think both instead of thinking either or, just kind of thinking outside the box. How can I have my cake and eat it too? Okay. So those are 5 common phrases or mindsets that I've seen that prevent people from achieving wealth and financial freedom. So just be aware of them. Be aware that they may be preventing you from taking the next leap in your financial growth. The best way to overcome those, especially the ones that have been ingrained since childhood, is to start saying a daily mantra. Start saying things that are going to kind of override what your mind has been hearing. For example, if you heard as a child, we don't have any money, every morning, just start saying, every time you think about it, hey, we have plenty of money coming in. We have plenty of money coming in. And that will say that out loud, and that will kind of reprogram your brain to be thinking, oh, we got plenty of money, a little bit more over here, great. And your mind starts looking for money as opposed to thinking we don't have money. And then your mind will just say, yep, don't have any money. So again, thinking of a daily mantra to override what you've already had ingrained as a child. Another one is, hey, I'm going to be the nicest rich guy in town. Tell yourself that. Tell yourself that multiple times a day to override the phrase, rich people are jerks, if you heard that a lot as a child. So just think about what phrases may be preventing you from being successful, and then think of a phrase that kind of counters that you can tell yourself, that you can tell out loud, that's going to kind of persuade your subconscious to look at things differently. For those other phrases, such as, it seems too good to be true, just be aware of them and think about what you can do to avoid letting them prevent you from achieving prosperity or getting to your financial goals.